What's going on, you guys? You're tuned into the Cutting Room Knife Review. I'm your host, Garrett, and today we're taking a look at the White Mountain Knives collaboration with Paddy's Knives, the Sailfin. What's up, guys? I'm Garrett. You're tuned into the Cutting Room Knife Review, where I review knives, blades, and all things sharp. Please like and subscribe so I can keep bringing you more killer knife content. Now, this knife is really cool for a number of reasons. One, because a person who I will call a friend of mine designed this knife. And the designer is Patrick Hubbard. And Patrick and I have conversed a bit on social media. We talk on Instagram, actually quite a little bit since right before this knife came out, until it just recently released. And I'm really pleased to take a look at this knife and to see Patrick's design work. Myself being involved in the knife world as well, both in just this review realm and then also now with my own company coming out with this model of knife. Now, I did not design this knife. My partner, Patrick Gerst, did. Still, the whole putting together a knife, getting the design out, getting it made by an OEM, bringing it to market, it's all something that I'm in the midst of right now. And it's something that I have watched Patrick Hubbard, not Patrick Gerst, my partner. It gets confusing because my partner's name is Pat, and the designer of this knife's name is Patrick as well. But this Patrick, watching him bring this knife to market, partnering with White Mountain Knives and Kubi as an OEM for this knife, it's just cool to see this knife come to fruition. And now that I have my hands on it, actually finding out that it's a really cool knife. It's a really good design. It works really well. I have really a lot of good things to say about this knife. I think the bang for the buck on this knife is great. It introduced me to a blade steel Elmax that I had never actually realized I never owned a blade in Elmax before, and I really like it. It has amazing action, really good action on it. It has a really good hollow ground drop point blade. It has good ergonomics. I'm a fan of this knife. I really am. I think Pat did a really good job. Paddy's Knives did a really good job designing this knife. It has a lot to really, to praise. So let's get into the materials and the dimensions of this knife, just the overall specifications, and break it all down for you guys. All right, so the White Mountain Knives Sailfin, designed by Patrick Hubbard, Paddy's Knives, my friend. Good job, brother. I'm going to keep congratulating you throughout this episode because I am just so proud of you and I'm so happy for you. And honestly, dude, I love your knife. It's a good one, man. So let's get into it. The overall length of this knife is 7.44 inches if we're going to round it up. So a little under 7.5 inches overall. It has a 4 1/4 inch, so 4.25 inches on the handle length. The blade length is 3 1/4, so 3.25 inches on the blade length. So that is a really good all day long, everyday carry shape and size. This knife is very comfortable to carry around all day, and it's big enough to really tackle whatever task you have in front of you. I love a good, basically 3-to-4 blade to handle ratio that this knife has. It's 3.25 to 4.25, but essentially an inch difference between the handle and the blade. I can dig it. like I say in every single one of my episodes, guys, say it with me, between 7 and 8 inches overall, and between 3 and 3.5 inches of blade length. This knife fits well in the hand, has good jimping right here for the thumb. We can have it kind of back and have our fingers into this little groove right here. If we want my index finger here, I like my index finger up on the knife, and I kind of get my middle finger into that groove. And then a lot like the Vosteed Raccoon and various other knives I've been checking out lately, also the Devo Fireball, we have a thicker little point right here, almost like a pistol grip. And we have, this is basically a sharpening choil. I don't think it's really like a finger choil, but kind of acts like it. We got our finger up here and not cut our finger. It's comfortable up here, and I get a good purchase on the knife and a good squeeze right here at the edge of the handle. Very comfortable in the hand, very ergonomic, able to control the knife very well. So back into the specifications, we have a 3.4 ounce knife, so it's actually fairly light. For this size of a knife with titanium, with the titanium scales, has a titanium backspacer in it. It's a fairly light knife. It's nice. It's going to have a little bit of, it looks like it has some weight reduction on the scales, that they are ground out on the interior, at least on this show side of the scale. And then you can't really grind out the lock side anywhere near as well. But because that has some weight reduction in it, it is a very comfortable knife. Between 3 and 4 ounces is nice and light, but substantial enough that doesn't feel like it's going to fly away on me or just break under any pressure. Really cool. I love that about the knife. We have a drop point style blade. It has a hollow grind to it. So the plunge grind is hollow. We have quite a bit of flats up here, which kind of like threw me for a bit of a loop at first when I was looking at it. Aesthetically, I just didn't know what to really make of these flats, but the more I use this knife, like the more I kind of dig it. We have a nice hollow grind right here. It's very slicey. I went and cut up a bunch of cardboard in my backyard yesterday with this knife, really put it to hard use, and it just ate everything right up. Feels very substantial up here on the spine. Does not feel like it's going to be weak in any ways. Definitely stays thick for a little while, so you're going to have a very, very tough knife. It stays thick towards the tip of the knife, so the tip too is going to be very, very sturdy. Now, does that affect the slicing of this knife because the hollow ends so early on? It goes flat right here. Not for me. It didn't. I cut through everything with a lot of ease in this, and that really might be contributed to somewhat to the Elmax blade. And I have never used Elmax before. It's kind of an older super steel as far as super steels go, but it holds a great edge and gets just, this thing is just laser beam sharp. The one I got from White Mountain Knives, if everybody's is like this, be careful with it because this thing comes sharp from the factory. It's just been eating up everything I've put in front of it. I love a hollow ground drop point. It's one of my favorites for the blade. I think it's really cool. It's got like a stone wash on the grind, and then on the flats, it's satin. So it's like the blade's two-tone. Really kind of a cool look. And that's going to help like any kind of marring that would happen to a satin hollow ground blade. You start slicing a ton with it, and you're going to wind up with marks. The stone wash is definitely going to like alleviate a lot of that issue. The stone wash is going to hide a lot of the wear from hard use on this knife, which is really cool. So then we have titanium scales. Actually, let's jump back to the blade. We have a slot right here for deployment, and we also have thumb studs. Thumb studs work great. Slot works great. Both thumb roll, thumb flick, and reverse flick all super comfortable with both the slot or blade hole, if you want to call it that. I think it's more of a slot, and the thumb stud. The action is great. The bearings that this thing is running on are wonderful, high end feel to it. It feels like oiled glass. Nice little schwack to it. Good acoustics to this knife, but nice and really, really smooth feeling through here. You don't have any like like grinding or like, sometimes a knife has smooth action. You can still kind of get a shink to it as it moves. Not this thing though. This thing is nice and smooth. So getting down into the scales, we have a milling pattern to this darker stone wash scale. I like the dark stone wash on the lighter wash blade and satin. Kind of just gives it a two-tone feel to it. We also have a lighter wash on all of the hardware and the pivot, as well as the pocket clip. The pocket clip shares milling style with the scales, but is two-toned from it. We have the milling on this is kind of like, it's lines, but it's like a curvy line. It reminds me of a fingerprint. It reminds me of like, if you look at a fingerprint, that's what this reminds me of. I don't know what else to call it. Could be like lines in the sand, but I think a fingerprint is the best way to call it. Pocket clip works great. Not crazy deep, but not shallow either. I can dig it. Comfortable in my pocket, didn't tear it up, didn't get caught, very easy. All in all, good overall. So the handle finish is bead blast. The hardware finish is stone wash. Everything, is really cool on this knife. It just really is like well done. Kubi did a really good job. The edges are not sharp, but they're not rounded either. It's I don't know if that's called a chamfer. I'm not sure if I use that term right. I want to say that's the word for it, but I'm double second guessing myself. So if I said it wrong, my apologies. If I said it right, good for me. You have good access to the lock bar. It doesn't stick out all crazy. It's not ugly right here, but I have no problem getting purchase of it with my thumb. We can swap sides with the pocket clip. I do love that it gives you an insert for where the side that doesn't have the pocket clip is on it. It's not just an empty hole. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Kubi. Thank you, White Mountain Knives. Whoever's idea that was. I am so OCD about knives that just leave an open hole on the side. Drives me crazy. That being said, this knife is $225, and that is a absolute killer price point. Like, everybody should be out running and getting this knife for $225. It is slicing way outside that price range. Kubi is not what I would consider the highest end premium OEM manufacturer. I would say Bestech and Riot both are known for being higher end manufacturers, though Kubi has been killing it lately. Kubi does Devo's knives as well. Devo knives as well, not Devo's, not the band Devo, but Devo knives. Kubi is the manufacturer for them. I think they've been doing a great job, and they've been coming out with great knives. They do put out a slightly less expensive knives than Riot and Bestech tend to. And as far as function goes, this is top notch. As far as fit and finish goes, like really, it's top notch. There's nothing I can complain about this knife. It is not the fanciest knife I've ever seen, but it doesn't need to be. I think that there is like I guess you could like polish this knife up a little bit. I don't know how to say this in the way I want to say it. Like, these edges, I don't know if they're meant to be at angles, or if they could be rounded. I don't know if we would want to like round out the spine or not, or we want to just keep it square. those are design choices, and I don't know if they'd make it better or make it worse. That Patrick did a great job, making this knife. I think that it is like not incredibly flashy, but because it's not incredibly flashy, I'm going to want to use this knife more. I'm going to put this knife to hard use, and this knife is ready for hard use. That's been one of like the big, like in designing knives at our company, making them too flashy to where almost you don't want to use the knife is kind of an issue with some knives. There's too much on them. And I like how this knife kind of keeps it to the keep it simple, stupid, mantra. Not that it's like overly simple, but it works. It functions. It doesn't have anything on it that it doesn't need to, and it has everything that it does need. And I could easily see this knife going for $275, $280, and nobody blinking an eye. Even pushing up into $300 range. I don't think that anybody would, really, bat too much of an eye at it. It's got a titanium back spacer. It's a high-end blade steel. The function of it is absolutely great. It's a titanium frame lock. Like, what more do you want? And $225 for this knife is absolutely outstanding. So let's compare this knife to some other knives. All right, so as knife law states, we will compare this knife to the Spyderco Para 3 and the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 before we compare it to any other knives, because those are the rules. I don't make up the rules. I just follow them sometimes. But I don't want to go to knife jail, so I do this first every time. We are very close to Para 3 size. We are very, very close to the same size as a Para 3. Obviously, this has a lot more edge, a lot more blade edge than the Para 3 does, but overall length is pretty close to the Para 3. It's shorter than a Paramilitary 2, but if you look at the usable edge, it pretty much has the same amount of edge that the Paramilitary 2 does. So that is a plus. We have a ton of usable edge in a compact package. That is a win. That is definitely net plus for this knife. Now, it has kind of a spear pointish shaped drop point, I would call it. Leaf shaped drop point. It reminds me of these knives, but not just these knives, but we'll start out with this. As far as budget knives goes, kind of reminds me of the Kaiser Drop Bear 2. The overall blade shape, hollow ground, leaf/spear style drop point. We have this sharpening / finger choil in the front. Both are hollow ground, have a bit of flat above the hollow grind. Kaiser is, of course, in budget materials. This is in much more premium materials, but it reminds me of this. And if you know anything about the budget Kaiser Drop Bear 2, I absolutely adore this knife. This is not a diss comparing it to a budget knife. I think the design of this knife is wonderful. It just uses budget materials. Now, on to some more expensive knives than the Sailfin. We have a fairly similarly priced knife. We have the Spyderco Shaman. And the Spyderco Shaman is a little bit bigger, but we are dealing with similar-ish blade geometry on this knife. A much bigger knife, but we're looking at similar blade geometry, and I'm thinking when you're cutting with the knife, I get similar feels as far as how the edge works for me through the cut as a Spyderco Bodacious. I also get really close feels to the Kunwu Excalibur. Once again, this is kind of a stretched out version of this knife. This has a little bit more belly to the blade edge, but again, I'm getting similar feels. This once again is a more compact version of a knife than this is. Also, almost $200 cheaper than this knife with very similar materials, much lighter as well. This knife is unique, and though like I'm comfortably at home with it at the same time. It reminds me of knives that I love when I'm cutting with it. It isn't like completely foreign to me, whereas it has its own like unique feel to it. It really does. It has just this really great action. I love fidgeting with this knife. As soon as I pull it out, I started playing with it. Really have enjoyed just messing with this knife. I was sitting talking to Pat from Paddy's Knives online for a little bit, and I was just playing with his knife. I don't think he even knew that I was messing around with his knife when I was talking with him. But I had to send him a congratulations video, just saying, "Dude, great job! This knife kicks ass. I've enjoyed the heck out of this knife." And I'm going to say that to you guys. This knife is a win. This knife is a net positive win. If you haven't tried this knife, or you're looking for a good frame lock titanium knife, good hollow ground, super steel, long edge retention knife, a knife that is compact with a very good amount of usable blade edge. This has a ton of edge on this blade for how long the blade is. Almost the entire edge of the blade, much like the Spyderco Shaman, almost the entire blade is usable edge. And that is just such a cool feature on a knife, because sometimes you get knives where you can't use the whole edge, and that's whack. Where you can't use the whole length of the edge isn't the whole length of the blade, and you're like, why do I have all this extra blade? I think that usable edge is great on the knife, and this knife is just chock full of it. Good ergonomics, comfortable in the hand, lightweight, great action, good looking, like subtle but classy looking. I love the dark wash and light wash two-tone. It's just really good use of just stone wash, not being flashy, but being like, cool looking and definitely having its own flavor. I don't really have anything negative to say about this knife. If it cost more money, I probably would have paid a bit more money for this knife. I think it is a deal. At $225, this knife is just a deal. If you don't have it, why haven't you gotten it yet? Like, seriously, why haven't you gotten this knife yet? If it's $225, this knife is worth way more than that. I think it's really refreshing that they priced it at a price point that isn't astronomical. They didn't come out the gates, swinging for the fences. They came out really humble. Paddy and White Mountain Knives, came out and put out a knife that does the job, walks the walk, talks the talk, and doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. So I'm just going to say, you guys, go get this knife. I already said that, but go get this knife. It's rad. Support Paddy's Knives. Super good dude. I mean, it doesn't get better than this. It's a real guy designing a real knife. It's not some big corporation. It's not some guy charging $700, $800 for a knife. It's a guy like you or me who loves knives and went out and designed a knife and got a company to back him, and they got an OEM to make their knife, and they brought it out to market, and it's killer, and they're giving it to you for a deal. So go support White Mountain Knives and Paddy's Knives. I'm going to put the link to this knife in the description. I don't make $1 off this. Patrick doesn't know that I'm hyping up his knife. He didn't ask me to hype up his knife. He didn't give me a free knife. I paid for this knife with my own money, and I absolutely love it. And I support him 100%, and that's all on my own conviction. He has no idea I'm doing anything more than a review of this knife, and I didn't even get a hold of his sample knife because the big dogs. The big dog's got a sample knife, and I'm not a big dog yet. But one day I hopefully will be. What I will say is that he's a super cool guy. You should support him. Super great knife. You should buy it. I'm glad I've got mine. And yeah, you know what? If anyone wants to check out this knife, and let me know, and maybe I'd even let you borrow it to check it out if you were interested in picking it up. Because if I can help a friend out to move some of his knives, I'm going to do it. But because I support it and I believe in this knife, I think it's good, and I think you will too. So that being said, that's about that, guys. This is the White Mountain Knives Sailfin, designed by Patrick Hubbard of Paddy's Knives, OEM by Kubi. Go get you one, guys. I'm Garrett from the Cutting Room Knife Review. Until next time, stay sharp.